How are you? What is happening? Crowie here, Sparky Coach Podcast. Coming at ya. I don't know if that's the catchphrase, but that's what we seem to say. Coming at ya. Here to throw you some situations. So it's a tradies first week. What do I do? Who is your daddy? And what does he do? Right? Schwarzenegger style, Kindergarten Cop. What a great movie. For tradies first week. Now, obviously, this is going to determine on, in my head, the size of your company comes into play for me. So if you've got like 20 staff, your onboarding is probably going to be more formal than if you've got 0 staff members. So in this case, we're going to go on like a smaller company's journey of what they need to do. And, as you get bigger, you need a bit more like, HR, a bit more onboarding in terms of like, this is how we use Simpro or whatever job management system you're using. And this is our policies and this is how you do this. And this is the factory. And so we put this and this is that. When you're just like raw dogging it straight out of Compton, you know what I'm saying? just hustling for the dollar bill, y'all, selling crack to the kids 2-pack style. Is that 2-pack? Yeah, changes. Don't sell crack to the kids. I'm not saying that. I'm not telling you to sell crack to the kids. Sell conduit to the kids. You can do that. Actually, my kids play with conduit all the time. They absolutely love it. But I remember they were like literally throwing stuff on the roof the other day to get stuff down with conduit. And I was just like watching them going like, rookies. Yeah, you don't even know how to swing conduit around. Actually, they actually love playing with the yellow tongues, green tongues, whatever color you got. It's all good. They love it. So anyway, all right. I don't even know what we're talking about. My head's actually in like cavity tongue mode and in the most PG way possible, if you know what I'm saying. Anyway, we are talking about tradies first day on a small company. So what do I do? So my biggest encouragement, my biggest tip is that tradie, when you're starting out, has to be billable as much as you possibly can. So every time when I do the schedule I used to do like, as I got more sophisticated, more proper, I would do the schedule every Friday for the week ahead, right? And we all know the rules. It's wrong by Monday, but the skeleton's there, the spine's there, if you will, right? So it's super interesting. But like the big thing is the objective of any schedule is that you would get to the end of next week with maximum billable hours. So like paid 40, billed 40 at the worst case scenario. You don't want to go factoring people in a calculator sense as a one billable resource, as 146 hours a month or 138 hours a month, depending on how many hours you work a week, and have them hit 130, 120. It cooks. It absolutely cooks. It absolutely cooks your overhead per billable resource, and you'll find yourself, you'll feel that in your bank account. You'll feel it. Like, I don't even need to tell you. I sat with 2 people yesterday, and I was like, I know, I sat with them and showed them the numbers, and I was like, I know you can feel that in your bank account. And they were both like, yeah, we can. And I was like, I can see that because of where you're hitting or where you're not hitting. And there's no judgment there. The goal is that we'll get better. But too many people are busy and not considering themselves being billable. And everyone has a different ratio. Like, if you're factoring yourself as a 20 hours a week billable, like you've got to hit those 20 or change the calculator. Like you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't have your cake and lick the icing and then just get as many billable hours as you don't want to get in because you felt like it, right? Like you have to hit the number that you said you were going to hit or reap the consequences of another average financial year. And as too many people just don't understand that. Like it's crazy, right? So I don't know. I feel like as a coaching company, Cam and I always talk about what's our mantra. And it's like, keep it simple, right? Like set the number, hit the number. Like if your numbers good, we say this all the time. If your numbers are good and your product's good and your people skills are good, you'll do good things. You don't really need anything else. Like you don't actually need anything else. You're like, is a job management system essential to life? Like it's great to have, it's nice to have, but like if you're hitting numbers you might not need that. You know, like you can create the sickest spreadsheet of this stuff. I'm saying this, I'm a massive believer that Simpro is the way, the truth, and the life, you know? And that's just because it is the best one at the moment. Maybe someone will release something better in the future, but like you got to set the number, hit the number. So when I'm doing the schedule, my objective for the week is to be like, I want to finish that week and have hit 100% efficient at the absolute minimum. And all the materials that move through us come at a margin or a markup where we're making money, and that money should be around between like $8 and $12 per person, depending on obviously aircon, solar, but generally speaking, electrically, that's the rules, right? So it's like, and I don't make the rules, the calculator makes the rules, and you have to bow down and worship the sheep gods because they know more than us, because they are not emotional beings, right? They can't just feel like something and do it. A number doesn't ration to that. A number's like, I have a process, I have a system to go through, I've got to weave through this billable hours, I've got to divide myself by this, and I've got to put myself here, and this is where I land. And if the input's wrong, then the number's wrong that you came up with. So we want to basically know like what we need to hit and do we hit it. But the objective of anyone's schedule is to hit the billable hours. So I sat with this guy who shall remain nameless like Voldemort, even though Voldemort has a name. Who is remain nameless? Madonna has a first name. Anyway, we sat there and I was like, this is what I would do if I was you. And he got this. You want to be billable as much as you can. This person, in this case, has like a large-ish sort of factory job. And I was like, you need momentum at this factory. And he's like, I've got to get to Betty's house and just do this. And I was like, okay, your biggest downfall in the schedule is that you're a nice guy. Like that's gonna cook you, right? Because you're gonna bend over backwards to fit people in at obscure times, and you're gonna throw out your good clients with someone paying you $200 a year for a light install. So it's like, I think the factory is consistent, great work from a great client. If you're hitting that in 4-hour stints and the next day and then having a day off and going to a small job and coming back and leaving and coming back, and if you're sporadically hitting that, you're going to achieve no momentum. When you're achieving no momentum, and if it's cost plus or quoted, they both present their own issues. Cost plus presents an issue of racking up a bill, right, for the client that is higher than it should have been because you're stopping and pausing the momentum of the job. Quoted hits a similar nature, except the risk is back on you. So cost plus, the risk is on the client that your bill would be higher because it's not handled properly. When it's quoted, the risk is on you that you are mishandling the job and it's costing you money because there's no flow. And when there's no flow, there's no dough. Oh, you're hearing me? I'm rapping like Slim Shady up in here. But when there's no flow, there's no dough. So you have to see that, because when you're not flowing, you're not doing. And when you're not flowing through the job, like just going, okay, we're full days, same crew. I'm not going to Betty's house at midday. I'm not doing that quote at 2 o'clock. I want to get consistency, because consistency of days is going to breed productivity, and productivity, if I'm quoting properly, should result in financial gain. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? But I sat with him and I was like, I would put Tuesday, Wednesday, this is a one-person band at this point. I would put Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday as the home base, like the factory, right? You guys both remain billable, and I would basically, if I was you, I'd put your small jobs across 2 days, and so you can always leave the new person at that factory job. They're achieving momentum, but anything else I'd bookend Monday and Friday, so you're maintaining the momentum of your good client and other things you're booking out, right? But the goal objective and everyone's schedule, because it's going to be a bit different, because every week, let's face it, is a little bit different. But it was crazy. We sat there and it was like, we probably just made $1,000 just structuring your schedule properly for next week, because there's so much money in a well-oiled schedule, and there's so much lost money in a schedule that doesn't flow properly, in a schedule that's stop and start, in a schedule that bends over backwards to quote someone's board upgrade at 11 a.m. when they're probably going to have 4 other quotes for it, right? So this is where who you work for is important. But I've said this before, and I'll say it again, that it's so easy to let your best clients down. It's so easy to let your best clients down. It's so easy to let down the people that are easiest to work with, because they are easy to work with. But you know, if you let someone down once or twice or 3 times, over time, you're going to wear that relationship thin, and it's going to put friction on that relationship, and it's going to put it's going to cause a bit of damage, and they might just look elsewhere. So you're not expecting it because they're great and you get along with them, but everyone has a threshold of what's acceptable and what's not. And, you send a couple of invoices that are too high or poorly communicated, or like, hang on, why was that so expensive? Oh, look at these hours. He was here for Monday for 3 hours, Tuesday for 4 hours, Wednesday for 10 hours, Thursday for 2 hours, Friday for 7 hours. What the hell? Like, if I was paying that bill personally, I'd look at it and go like, why weren't you here for 3 days? We just had some tradies working at our house, and they were changing crews, and I was like, oh, look, I'd prefer if you didn't change the crew, because every time you change the crew, you double handle the job, like the job description. You double handle like what the nature of the job is, and you've got to come and explain it to them again, and it's just cost plus. It's money it's like just burning money. I might as well burn money and throw it in the gutter. Like at least that'd be enjoyable to watch, right? Watching someone explain the same thing 3 times to 3 different teams is not enjoyable from my end. Like, so I think what my advice for the schedule, and this is what I used to do, there's no right or wrong way. If I was running a schedule, I'd basically be like, the objective is simple. Everyone has to be as billable as they possibly can be. The right person needs to be in the right job, and where does everyone fit best? So as your team gets bigger, you're looking at it going like where does that person fit? Where does that temperament sit? Does that temperament sit with that builder, with that client, with that real estate, with that? And when I say builder, it's interesting because it's like, I'm not necessarily talking about a builder, although I am. I'm just talking about someone who can give you repeat work. So that might be an IT company for you. It might be real estate. It might be commercial real estate. It might be commercial customers. It might be someone who's a property developer. It might be your best client in insert whatever, doesn't really matter. That someone who's giving you more than one job. And you can get that organically by hustling for it, or you can pay for that by, say, Google Ads that give you more than one job, but you're paying for it. And that's cool if you're paying for it. There's nothing wrong with paying for things, but can you do it organically first, right? So it's so I'd be going like, this is what I used to do. I throw all the jobs into a pool. So we used to have small job Monday and small job Friday. So the admin was able to book out whatever they wanted on that Friday or Monday as you're starting out, right? It's the simplest thing to do. As you get bigger, you're looking at probably just having a service team. So they can just book out that service team. As they're booking out that service team, you're looking at working in regions, or like you don't want to. My only real analogy is going to be Sydney, because that was my experience of scheduling. But you don't want to go to like North Sydney and then back to the Shire and then across somewhere else in the one day. You want to keep it all within a zone. And it's so easy if you're not aware of the schedule. It's so easy just to send. Like a great example, if you're on the sunny coast or central coast, you don't want to go to your minor. No, it's too far away. But doesn't obviously depends on where you are. But like you've got to work in a rhyme and a reason with the schedule, because you can make a lot of money with a well-oiled schedule. You can lose a lot. So maybe you just set up a day that admin can book in, or you can book in, just a free for all. Or maybe you throw everything into a pool and then on the Friday you sort of organise it to make yourself or your staff members as billable as they possibly can be. So what? You've got to move Betty at 12 o'clock to 12 o'clock, Tuesday to Wednesday. Who cares? Like it's irrelevant. Too many people are too nice. And I tell you what, if you let someone down once or twice, you have to be really nice because you let them down. So it's like, it's a really good indicator just to don't let people down in the first place. And then you just ask if they can work with you on the schedule. But it's your responsibility as a business owner to make your schedule as well-oiled as you possibly can. If it's not well-oiled, you burn money, right? So you need to throw all jobs into a pool or book them into days, right? Or book them into like, that person handles the small jobs, right? We need momentum on these jobs, consistency. It's no good just to go and come back and go and come back and go and come back. We need to remain billable. We need to have set-up days. In other words, if I'm starting someone out, can I get there on Monday with them and then be like, okay, for Tuesday, here's your objective, and I'll come back Wednesday. So basically, you've given them times and tasks of things to complete when you're not there. So when you come back, you can see, firstly, how good they are, and secondly, what they got done, and thirdly, like how they handled themselves when you weren't there. And I'm always a big believer, as you're starting a new tradie, you want to start them and finish them. I'm talking Mortal Kombat, finish him. You want to finish them in a way that like, if you turn up to a 2-day job, you start and be like, here. You should be here by Monday afternoon, or even work with them that day. By Tuesday, and I'm coming back Tuesday at midday to basically dot the I's and cross the T's and show you what I think and what I feel and what our company's standards are, and this is how I want the job finished. You can have the best end of job checklist, and that's great. But when you're there with someone, you're like, oh, actually, can you use cable tie that? Actually, do you mind doing this? Actually, this board's got to be done this. Actually, we use these kind of labels. Actually, we have a switchboard sticker. Hey, I've noticed you didn't spray the gal spray on the earth. Like, just stuff that people forget. And if you can go through and show your sort of critical eye across the job, this is how we should finish it, you're going to set a culture that's excellent. And when you set an excellent culture, you have an excellent product. We have an excellent product, you have an excellent reputation. When you have an excellent reputation, you can make some money. But if you're dropping the ball on things, if things aren't tidy, if things aren't neat, if things are not good enough, if things aren't done to the client standards or to Australian standards or to New Zealand standards or to the Bible standards, then you've got a problem, a serious problem, right? So we're taking control of the schedule. We're taking back Sunday. Oh yeah, anyone who's like, yes, I love that band. We're taking back control of the schedule, right? And we're not going to feel bad for making money. We're not going to feel bad for making money. We're not going to feel bad for making money. Look at yourself in the mirror and say, I was born for this, just aggressively or passive aggressively. But you're allowed to make money. There's nothing wrong with making money. There's nothing wrong with running a profitable business. There's nothing wrong with being successful. There's nothing wrong with that. And if you can work out that the clear objective of running a business is financial gain, and that's going to buy me some time, and the clear objective of the schedule is financial gain, of profitability. That's the objective, right? That's what we want at the end of it. So let's just settle that and be like that at the end of next week, and then I will measure how successful that was by the hours that come through, and then I'll judge if I want to do it again or not. So it's like, just simplify the whole process. And so if you've got admin days, this is like another podcast, but try and leave a day free. If you're sort of starting out, leave a day free. It's really, really hard to set, like, for me to sit here in front of a computer and be like, oh, every Friday you must do the office day, and to one extent that, if it was a switchboard upgrade, you would be there. So there really should be no excuse that you can't be there, because if it was an on-site job and you had it booked in, you probably would be there. But the reality is, if a great client calls, an excellent client calls, you get a great opportunity, and it's Friday and you're home, you might just be like, oh, I'll go there because I'm growing the business, I'm pouring the sweat into it. So it's like, we're not leaving for Betty when Betty says, but if an excellent client comes on board, an excellent commercial client we've got, and I've only got one of two people to send, it's either me or my tradie or my apprentice, well, I have to go, because it's like, that's the nature of a small team. You've only got two items to move, yourself and someone else. When you've got a larger team, you've got more options in the schedule. So my biggest advice for a new tradie coming on board is, yes, onboard them to your ways, but if you're still a small company, you can probably do that by working with them for 1 or 2 weeks. And when you're working with them, set the tone, set the culture, set the rhyme, set the rhythm, set the reason, set the consistency, set the culture, set the ethics, set the communication, set the standards, set the scene. And that's what's going to grow your business into profitability, is your reputation. So get it. Get after it. See you soon.